All right, what's up, guys? Bro, I'm so tired. Chris and Ninja here. Um, I can't, bro. I'm literally like struggling so hard right now, bro. I'm so tired. I've been staring at a screen since like 8 this morning, and I really want to go to sleep. I really want to take a nap. I really wanted to like. There was a lot of things I wanted to do today. Well, not really. I just want to take a. I want to take a nap, and I wanted to play a game for y'all. But the important thing is I need to study first because the exam for 359 uh drops tonight, probably, kind of. Um, so today we're going I've been working on capstone stuff all like pretty much throughout the day. Every free moment I've had throughout the day, I've been trying to work on this capstone stuff. This is my one outlet. This is my one little fragment of peace in my day, my one piece fragment, and it's almost been stolen from me. So, but it's all good. It's fine. It's fine. It's no big deal. So this study session is geared to kind of prep us as a collective whole because it's a team game. It's a team game. Um, we trying to we're trying to pass this exam. So I'm just prepping everything up, hooking it all up. Let me hit refresh. I got the live chat to my right. If there's any questions, let me know. Drop it in the chat. But we're gonna get it going. So um, this exam covers. So let me just say like exam two. Now, what's up, Cyan? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. I will say I am an academically honest person. So any information that was given in class, which you should have been at, will not be disclosed if it's not like general common knowledge, like what's going to be on the exam. But like, let's just say, for instance, the professor gave out a hint or an answer to a question that will be on the last, like, will be the last question of the exam. I'm not telling you. You should have showed up. That's not my fault. But anyway, poor choices aside. Exam two, um, let's see. Exam two starts where we last left off with instrumentation amps, and we're going to be going over differential amplifier or yeah, differential and integrating amplifiers. I'm so tired. I'm like forgetting how to draw letters and spell. Um, we're skipping over the wheatstone or whetstone, whatever you want to say for it, and the piezoelectrics that will not be on the test. So I just wanted to, that's something that won't be covered today. We will also go ahead and skip the active filters as well. Or not active. We'll skip the passive filters because the passive filters build into active. So passive, you should know you should know these like inherently. I don't care if you can read that or not because like you should just know passive filters. That's all I said. And then we're gonna go over the active filter stuff that will be on the test. So there's really only two main topics that are going to be on the test. The only problem is the active filters is a pretty large range, but I'm going to try and cover everything that I can because honestly, y'all may look at this as me helping y'all study. Nah, 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 nah. You're helping me study. So thank you for your help. Thank you for forcing me to make content to force myself to study. Um, what's up, Gavin? Um, oh, you're all good, Cyan. If you're late to the stream, it's no big deal. The streams are live because it's easier than editing videos. Um, got my main man Gavin in here. I guess he's just gonna tune in and try and listen to what I'm doing while I study. By the way, Capstone team, I know you're probably looking at me like, bro, what the freak? We need you. Why are you streaming? I'm studying, okay? All right, look, but if you need me, just text me. I'll try to respond to I'll literally like stop and respond as quickly as possible.
Do
But
your
anyway,
thing. Do your thing.
appreciate you, bro.
That's it. Now I got an exam to study for.
All right, so first things first is the differentiator circuit. So one of the most important things I can say for this is to know the difference between differentiators and integrators. So I'm going to draw two circuits, and I'll like point out the differences that I noticed today. Now you might look at me and be like, "Yo, Chris, that looked like the same circuit." It really does. But most important thing to note right here, you want to take a look right here. The thing I just circled right there, that's a capacitor. If the capacitor is in the front, that means it's a differentiator circuit. The reason it's a differentiator circuit, so let me just write this. The reason it's a differentiator circuit is because capacitors are well, the capacitor is at the front. Now, what does it mean that the capacitor is at the front? Well, the capacitor being at the front, there's two things that are important to note with capacitors. I've talked about it before in previous study streams. If y'all haven't seen them, I'm going to make sure I compile all the study streams into one playlist. You're not going to be able to watch them all in one day. So good luck cramming. It's not going to work. Um, but the thing about a capacitor is one, capacitors change resistance or reactance or impedance. It literally does not matter what you call it. It's an inherent property of capacitors. They change reactance, resistance, and capacitance based off of frequency. Now, one thing I will note that is kind of important to know that like I kind of figured out, I got called a genius for it, even though it was just me being dumb and you know, an easy way for a dumb guy to remember stuff is to say something dumb. Think of hold up, I'll be right back. Think of a capacitor like this, right? Think of a capacitor like this. A capacitor is like a cap. It's at the top. You see how the cap is on my head? It's a cap. It's at the top. So the way I remember, this is also like a little hint for low pass versus high pass filters. If you see a filter, this is kind of going into like, let me like make a note of this. Passive filters design. So if you see a capacitor at the top of the circuit like this, going into like some amplifier or whatever, this is a high pass because the cap is at the top. The cap is high. See, cap is high, high on my head. When the cap is off, the cap is low. So when the cap is low, for instance, in this next circuit, cap is low. I'm sorry, I'm not Dr. Bosshard. I can't draw like that man can. That man is an artist. That man is a straight artist. Um, where is my where did my phone? Where's shoot? I lost it. Um, crazy how you turn the lights out and you can't tell. There we go. What's going on? What's the deal? What's the deal? They'll type in a minute. Okay. But anyway, anyway, so cap at the top, high pass filter, cap low, or cap not at the top, or cap low. See, this is a low cap, low pass filter. Now, if that helps you on the test, make sure you put a little shout out. Draw like a little ninja or something like that on like the corner of your exam. Out like not in the answer sheet that part. Don't put it in the answers. Just like on the small corner, like where it's not going to be an issue, you know. Um, oh, thank God. Jeez. I was working on that. This is like a little break for me, man. I'm gonna get real with y'all for a second. I was working on a critical path for like I redid it like 4 times, and I've been working on it since like 10 this morning. I just got the check off that it looks good, bro. I was not. I'm a now that it says it look good. I was not about to redo it. I didn't care. Like I'm not redoing it. Not today. I can't. Um, bro, I was not about to redo that crap, man. I'm telling you now, I was not redoing that. But anyway, load lifted off my shoulders. I can actually focus on study stream now. Now, the second thing about capacitors. So the first thing about capacitors is that their capacitance change based off resistance, reactance, and capacitance. Or wait, I said capacitance. I meant to say impedance. That's my bad. Can y'all tell that I've had a little bit of sleep? Look, Cyan, just as long as it doesn't impact your grade, or as long as it won't like actually, you know, cause you to lose points, I'm all for it. Draw as big of an ninja as you want, but just don't lose points. I'm not for losing points. Um, so yeah, so since capacitors change their resistive rating, reactance, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it matters, but not in this class or in this situation. When the capacitor is at the front, that's the second thing that capacitors do. So the second thing about capacitors, I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth a lot. Second thing about capacitors block DC. Now, I'm not saying they block DC as in like the city, like Washington DC. No, like I mean, off the record, I would block DC, but that's off the record. On the record, I'm all for DC. You know, America's nation's capital and terrible drivers and a really dirty river. I mean, I'm all for it, bro. You know, industrialization and all that. But when I say DC, I mean direct current. So capacitors block direct current or DC current, which is an uh, look, look. I'm just saying. Um, so that being said, since um since capacitors change since capacitors change their reactance, impedance, whatever you want to call it, based off of frequency, and they block DC. When you have a capacitor at the front, the differentiator is a differentiator circuit is frequency dependent on its gain. So its gain is frequency dependent. So back to differentiators. Uh, Well, technically, both of these gains are frequency dependent. So both of these circuits are frequency dependent. Um, oops, there we just okay. Frequency dependent. So scrolling down a little bit to give myself a little bit of space to work with differentiators. There's basically three ways you can make the circuit, but the most important way is going to be the last way I show you because it's the most common. It's like the most practical way. So the ideal way is to draw it like this. Like this is the idealized circuit. But the problem here is when you have a super high frequency or a super low, if you have a super high frequency where the gain, like let's just call this like 50 ohms. If you have a super high frequency where the capacitor has basically zero resistance, so let's say like 2 gigahertz or at 2 gigahertz, that capacitor's impedance is basically zero. It's basically zero. I mean, unless you have like a massive capacitor. But the equation for how to find the impedance of a capacitor, the reactance of a capacitor, is 1/2 pi FC. If that the larger the F, it doesn't well, actually you'd really want a tiny capacitor if you want to have a large F. The larger the F, the the smaller the reactance. Which brings me to a good side point. This is a good side point to make note of. 2 pi F, just like Moses got the stones, got the 10 Commandments written in stone, 2 pi F in electronic and electrical engineering is always omega. Now, a lot of people will sit down and call it W. It's not W. If they call it W, like okay, look. If you call it W, it's just because it looks like a W. It's not a W, it's omega. You wouldn't call this symbol O. You wouldn't call that an O. And I stand by that. These two are the same. It's just one's uppercase and one's lowercase. It's like you wouldn't call this an A and then call this a fish. You wouldn't call this an A and this a fish. Like that's just nomenclature. It bothers me sometimes. I don't ever say anything because I try to be respectful and I try to be kind to people and not make them like regret their life choices. But it's omega, and it's important to know that's omega because if you're in a job interview or you're trying to get, or you're explaining to a boss or something like that, or you're explaining to another engineer, like, oh, how did you find this frequency, or what is the wavelength that I need to put in there? And you say W, you're cooked. You're done. Like they've already thrown your application in the garbage because they'll be like, oh well, they don't even know what omega is. How am I supposed to trust them with my electrical signals? So make the wise decision and remember that this is not W. Well, that technically kind of is W, but officially, this symbol is not W. This symbol is not W. This is a W. That's a W. These are not the same. These are the same. These are not the same. Anyway, that's just a teaching moment for you youngins out there. I know no college students make that mistake. Anyway, um, anyway, so 2 pi FC or 1 over 2 pi FC, that's the reactance of a capacitor. Um, so if you were to have like basically zero resistance, you'd have almost infinite gain. You're getting into open loop gain, which is theoretically infinite. You don't get free power. So this circuit is not perfect. So what we do to mitigate that is we put a little resistor in front of it, and that might be like, let's just say 1 kilo ohm. Put a resistor there in front of it, and now when the circuit goes through, if the capacitor shorts out because of uh because of a high frequency, well, there's still always going to be 1 kilo ohm of resistance there because resistors do not change based off of frequency. They don't change. Resistors are like, look, man, how do I put this in like a great way? Resistors are like orange Gatorade. Every time you drink an orange Gatorade, you get that slight medicine-y taste. It tastes kind of fruity, but not exactly like orange juice. It's a distinct flavor that does not change. Resistors are like orange Gatorade. Capacitors and inductors are like everybody's Kool-Aid. Not everybody can make Kool-Aid the same. Not everybody's gonna make it as sweet or as like unsweet. Like it's like Kool-Aid or sweet tea or something like that. It's gonna taste different no matter like depending on the frequency someone's made it and how much they're dumping into it, which might be the capacitance or the inductance. So, but you get a bottle of Gatorade. Oh, I drank my Gatorade. It's like a bottle of Lysol. You got some Lysol, it's gonna kill them germs. Regardless of you get a can of this, them germs are dead. Straight facts. But anyway, but this is still not the perfect circuit because there's still problems with it. Like it could be better. So what we do, um, we create a low pass filter essentially, and we have a resistor coming in the front. Let me scroll up a little bit. We have a resistor coming in the front. We have a capacitor here. Put a little thing there, ground, plus, and then we put a resistor here, and then we put a capacitor at the top here. Um, I forgot what this does. I think it I think it normalizes something. I forgot. I forgot why it's like that. But y'all just saw my face get all white and bright. It's because I changed to y'all don't care. Yep. Yeah, y'all don't care. Okay. This is a practical differentiator. Has a C1 and C2. This is just like the practical application. I forgot why. Um, so to get the V out of this one, so the V out equation is because it's an inverting op amp, like it's going in the inverting terminal, it's negative Vn multiplied by the frequency put in, multiplied by the RFC1. Um, let's see. Oh, RF. RF is the feedback resistor. It gets very confusing with all these like it gets very, very confusing. Gavin, did you have a question or need to say anything? You good?
Oh no, I'm chilling.
Okay, cool.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me double check this. Matrix, blah blah blah, matrix, something something. Okay, cool. Um, So RF is the feedback resistor. It can get very confusing very fast. And then also, fortunately for us, we get a little note card. Basically, we have a small note card to assist us on the exam. I won't elaborate even any further than that in case the dean or anything like that watches this video. How you doing, Mr. Dean of College of Engineering? Classes are so hard, and I feel like I'm learning so much, and I wouldn't be able to do engineering in real life without memorizing everything and never taking any look at any note card ever. It's real life jokes. Anyway, so oh snap. Okay, so that's the that's the thing there. Um, C2. Oh, that's what it does. C2. So the C2 capacitor, it restricts your output gain. And the reason we want to what am I trying to say? We don't really use these circuits too often, but when we do use them, they're in very let me put this in like purple or something so that way y'all know it's important. Um, very small frequency bandwidth. Who was texting me? Okay, cool. One of my best friends. Shout out to you. If you just texted me during the live stream at like 9:50, 9:25, you know who you are. One of my best friends. Shout out to you. Um, so rule of thumb, you want to pick the cutoff frequency. You want the cutoff frequency for your circuit. Well, I need to like clean my glasses because like the brightness of the screen, golly, I can't see. Impact or something like I wish there was a stim pack I could take where I would just be able to have 20/20 vision again, but they haven't invented that yet. So biomedical engineers, where you at? Where's my stim pack? You get to use all our electrical stuff. You see the lights that you have in your room that you didn't have to figure out. Where's my stim pack? Where's my instant health bar? They all busy doing stuff that's not important, like I don't know, saving lives and trying to solve cancer and make robotic prosthetic limbs, but there's no stim packs yet. If you had a stim pack, you wouldn't need a robotic arm. Chill out. I'm about to get canceled. But anyway, the important thing that I'm trying to say is when you pick your cutoff frequency for a differentiating circuit, you want it to be 10 times the frequency in. So you want it to be at least 10 times the frequency in. So SC should be greater than 10 times FN. And then that's how you find C2. Um, C2 is 1 over 2 pi feedback resistor times the cutoff. And that's because you want it to be at resonance. You want it to have like a resonant frequency where it'll like match up pretty well with stuff. Um, so yeah, that's a differentiator circuit. Any questions? Anybody got questions? I'm gonna give y'all like 15 seconds because the YouTube is a little bit on a delay. So um, Gavin's also in the class with me. So Gavin, if you have anything to add about differentiating circuits, please feel free to. Or if I missed something important, feel free to add in, tag in. Treating this just like 355. We're all teachers until we get a 69.9 on the exam. Then we're just students who almost passed.
It's looking just like he taught it in class. Yes, sir.
I appreciate it, man. I that's why I sit in the front. I can't. Well, there's two reasons to sit in the front. I can't see the screen, and two, I want to make sure I teach it right.
Yo, but it's perfect. Let's
Let's
go.
see. I'm being asked, is mayonnaise an instrument? It depends on how talented you are. Now, let me not make that joke. I was gonna, I was gonna say it depends on how talented you are. Just like how a lot of marching band students think that their athletic activity is a sport. Now, if you're carrying a Sousa, you're the real heroes. Shout out to those Sousas and euphonium and baritone and trombone players. Shout out to y'all. If you didn't get and the sax players, the Barry, alto, soprano, tenor, all y'all. Shout out to the sax players. Um, a half shout out to the flutes. If your name wasn't called, there was a reason behind it. All shade. Anyway, now that I've made everybody who probably chose to do something other than engineering mad, and if they did choose engineering, then they chose a better career path. Um, let's get to the integrator circuit. Let's go. Yeah. Blow those trombones because the trumpets ain't gonna play for me now. Now that I've made them upset. So the integrator circuit is actually the second circuit I drew from the very beginning. So an integrator circuit, it does the exact opposite of a differentiator circuit. So if you're too young to have taken calculus yet, you'll learn that differentiating is taking a derivative, and integrating is taking an integral. Like you just add everything up. Differentiating is like kind of subtracting everything. It just clicked. It just clicked in my head. Differentiating is like you're taking the slope of a line and you're subtracting it an infinite number of times to get a point. Integrating is taking the area under a line, adding it all up to get to another point. But I'm not going to teach calculus on this channel because I'm not good enough. Well, I'm probably good enough to teach calculus, but I don't feel like it. I don't feel like explaining derivatives and stuff like that. So if you wanted to learn calculus from me, too bad. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I don't care. Anyway, this is an integrator circuit, so learn it well. Let me just say integrator. I probably teach just like Dr. Hudson. He goes on rants like this all the time. The only difference is that sometimes I slow down and have legible handwriting. No shade. I love Dr. Hudson, man. He's one of the best professors I've ever had. Great guy. Okay, so V out for integrated circuit. You have what the cheese? You have -1 over RC, and that's times the integral of Vn with the respect to time. Um, so this is all pretty and nice and all that, but as Dr. Hudson would be proud of me saying, we're not mathematicians, we're engineers. Just give me the answer. So I'm gonna skip all the hard work and give you the answer. You're assuming you're at steady state because I mean electricity moves so fast you can't even perceive it moving. Like it's just that fast. I mean, like I just ran. If I were an electron, I would have been back to from the South Pole to back here, and you wouldn't even know I left. Um, so at steady state, so this is important. At steady state, V out is one, well, minus one over 2 pi FRC times Vn. Or because I just taught you this, y'all probably know what I'm gonna say. You really don't because y'all do not pay any attention to what I have to say. Y'all just sit back and let me do all the hard work for everybody else. Just sometimes it gets hard. Sometimes what if I didn't want to do the work? What if I just wanted to ask somebody some questions? But no, I'm just messing with y'all. Um, V out is also 1 over omega RC. If you remember, omega also represents 2 pi F. So that's another way you could write it. And that is reinforcing the omega principle. Um, you could have an initial voltage, but like that's not really important. What we're probably going to end up seeing on the exam most likely is a lossy integrator because that's what Dr. Hudson wants to put on the exam. Now, I haven't looked at the exam yet, so once again, honor code not violated because this is just perspective of what will be on the test, and what I know will be on the test. You should have been in class. I mean, you should have showed up. I mean, it's not my fault if you chose to sleep in at until like I don't know 11:45 a.m. and then skip class. That's not my problem. Maybe if you turned off Fortnite once in a while, got some sleep, you'd be in class. So this is a uh, lossy integrator. Let me see. Make sure that everything's going well. See. Okay, cool. I'm just double checking everything, making sure that I don't need to do anything else. Um, check the stream. It's all right if you don't play Fortnite. I'm just teasing some of the people. Um, so for a lossy line, V out is get ready for a big equation. It's minus Vn times RF over R over the square root of 1 plus 2 pi F RF C. And then that like term is squared underneath that bracket. Um Now technically speaking, technically speaking, you could rewrite this to make more sense. Um Actually, let me double check this because this might save y'all some time on the exam. Oh, I need to move this up. This might actually save y'all some time on the exam. So let's say we have a lossy integrator example problem. Our VN is Cyan, give me a number. Any number. Give me a number. The reason I'm asking Cyan for a number is because I want this to be randomized so no one can say, like, oh, you already have the answer written down somewhere. Okay, 7. So we have 7 volts in. Um, so VN equals 7 volts. Um, minus plus. We're gonna have a 7K ohm resistor, um, a 77 microfarad cap. I think I'm drawing this right. Yeah. And then 70K. Yeah, 70K resistor. So in this equation, um, in this equation, I'm going to do it two ways to kind of try and prove myself right. So if I want to get V out, so if I'm asked like right here, what is V out? Well, there's goodness, are y'all good? Are you good, dogs? Okay. Um, let's see. Dun, 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 dun. What was I doing? Oh, yeah. So our RF value is 70K. Our regular R value is 7K. Our capacitor value is 77 microfarads, and that's pretty much all we need. So if we have and our VN is 7 volts, so VN 7 volts. Um, so if we do 70K over 7K, that gives us a solid 10. And then we do 10 divided by this is how I break it down into different parts so I can like solve it easier. Um, do 10 divided by the square root of 1 plus 2 pi f. Oh, frequency. I need a frequency. Um, 700 hertz. 2 pi. So 2 pi times 700. Also, one thing I'll say for any younger viewers out there that might be going through lower level math classes like algebra or seventh grade math, sixth grade math, stuff like that, where you're first getting introduced to pi and x and stuff like that. Do not be afraid of numbers like e and pi. Okay, they're just numbers. They're just constants. They can't hurt you. They're literally, if you see pi and you're thinking a question or something like that, either put 3.14 or leave it as pi. Because if you do that, you will whatever the answer is after like leaving pi alone will be the answer. So don't fear pi. Pi is just a number. E is just a number. Don't fear it. Okay, it's all good. Um, I used to be afraid of pi and stuff like that until I realized it was literally just a number that can't hurt me anymore. So 2 pi times 700 times 70K times 77 microfarads. Square that. That all is square rooted. Yes, it is all square rooted. So everything under there is a square root. I'm going to solve this two ways. Solve this two ways to make sure that the way I think it can go is actually a way you can solve it. So you pull out your handy dandy calculator and you do the way I do it in my calculator to make sure I don't mess something up is I do the numbers that have to be multiplied all together first. So like 2 pi times 700 times 70,000 times 77 microfarads. Okay, and then square that. Then 1 plus this square root. Then do 10 over that. Did I do that right? I don't think I did that right. 2 pi times 700 times 70,000. This is like just me double checking to make sure I did the math right. Uh 2 pi times 700 times RF times 77 microfarads. That's what I said. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. So this results in a very small voltage out. We get around zero point 0.4 millivolts out. So this is about 0.4 millivolts. The other way I was going to say you can do it is because if you have done a little bit more of complex math, you know that whenever you divide by something, you can multiply by when you divide fractions, you can multiply by the reciprocal. So theoretically, if I were to do RF times the square root of 1 plus 2 pi times 700 times 70K, 70,000 times 77 micro. If I were to do this equation, and this is all squared, and then divide by R, I should get the same answer. Don't know why my R's look like that, but so if I do 70,000 times the square root of 1 plus 2 pi times 700 times 70,000 times 77 microfarads squared, and then divide that by 7,000. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Hold up. Um, 700 times. Hold up. Something ain't right. So something ain't right. Hold up. Wait a minute. Some is not right. Let's see. You know what? Scrap that. Jeez, almost dropped my iPad. It may work, but I think I made a small math mistake somewhere. Um, just forget about it pretty much. Just double checking the equation I have. RF over R, 2 pi F. Yeah, 2 pi F. Oh, this is a good time to point out the gain. So the gain equation is RF over R divided by square root of 1 plus 2 pi F RF C. Then let's see. So 77 microfarads times 70,000 times 2 pi times 700 And then that's, oh, this is squared. Then you square that plus one, square root that, and then do 70,000 divided by 7,000, and then do 10 divided by that value. And yeah, so you get a gain of like 0.004. Oh, I forgot to multiply this by 7. So V the actual V out, so V out see this is why it's important to do your work. Like this I would have forgotten to do that on the exam and then asked myself, why did I miss that question when I should have gotten that question? It's because I didn't multiply by 7. I forgot to multiply by 7. So V out equals 2.95 millivolts for that random set of numbers. So yeah, cool. Y'all almost got to see me make a huge mistake. I know, laugh it up while you can. Ha ha, Chris can't calculate stuff. Yeah, I know. Um, let's see. Yeah, inverting or DC amplifier. There's some things about like inverting and non-inverting amplifiers, but I don't really think that's super important. Um, at least not today. We're skipping the whetstone stuff. So we're gonna move on to filters. Man. So are there any questions about differentiators or integrating circuits? Are there any questions that anybody has? I just want to make sure that I don't leave any unanswered questions. Um, I am typically pretty good about responding to comments. So if you leave a comment, like if you watch this video after it's been published and you leave a comment about a question, I'll do my best to respond as quickly as possible. Because I feel like responding to comments while I can, I mean, like I hope and pray that one day I'll be, one of these big YouTubers and able to, look back on days like this and thank every single one of you for tuning in and everything. But while I'm still able to answer comments and respond to comments and stuff like that, I'd like to, and I pride I pride myself in engaging with y'all as a community. But no, horseradish is not an instrument, so I'm sorry about that one. So the next thing we can move on to is next thing we can move on to is filters. So active filters. So active filters are similar to passive filters, but the difference between active filters and passive filters is there's an op amp attached to it. So a passive filter, just as like a quick little refreshing guide. So passive, let me thicken this up a little bit. So a passive filter, this would be like a high pass filter. So you'd want a capacitor at the top. Oh, scoop. You want a capacitor at the top. You'd want that going into a resistor down here, down to ground, and then um, so this would be your passive low pass filter or high pass. I mean, excuse me. Your low pass filter is just flip the circuit around a little bit. So this is your passive low pass. And they're named by the frequencies that they pass along through the circuit. So that's where high pass and low pass comes from. Uh, let's see. Um, so now when we get to active filters, so let me just zoom in a little bit more. So the first active filter, let me see which one is the first active. Um, so you have low pass, high pass, band stop, and all pass. So let me just write that for y'all real quick. So you have a low pass, passes low frequencies. You have a high pass, pass high frequencies. You have a band pass, passes frequencies within a band rate, within a band. So in passes frequency within a bandwidth. So that would look something like it looks like a bell curve. It literally looks like a bell curve. So like from here to here is what's passed. I need to scroll up for y'all because I forget that y'all can't see it like I can see it. So yeah, that's a band pass. You have a band stop, which is the opposite of a band pass. So let me just do that in red because it's the opposite of green. Band stop. So stops stops frequencies in a band in a bandwidth. If I could write neatly for once. So that looks like something like this, where this is where the frequency is stopped. And then you have an all pass filter, our lovely all pass, which passes everything. Now you might ask, why would you want to pass everything? It's really to change the amplitude of the signal without affecting how it's like without affecting it at all. Used for amplification. Oh, I can zoom in a lot more. Oh, y'all finna get it. Y'all finna get it right here. Oh, let's go. Let's go. All right, so the first one we want to put up is the low pass. One of the most common ones that you'll find are Butterworth, Chebyshev, um, Bessel, and Elliptical. But the ones we're really going to probably focus on are the Chebyshevs. So I'm going to do a quick little synopsis on transfer functions. So actually, let me actually move up over here real quick. So there's a transfer functions. I'm like kind of rushing, but I don't need to rush because like I don't want to be on strict. Like I don't want to be doing too long of a study session for because like people may be burnt out by the time. Um, but it's we're doing pretty good on time. I got like 30 minutes before I need to like shut it down. Um, and we're almost done actually. So hang in there, hang in there. Uh, apologies that there's no gameplay, but I can't really I can't play games if I can't pass my classes because I gotta graduate sometime, and I'm yeah. So transfer functions. Transfer functions is how we mess around with filters. So transfer function, you might have some filter, and if you ever go into electrical engineering or anything like that, you might see something that looks like this. And that might scare you because S is now J omega. Okay, look, I know I said I was gonna do like a fourth dimensional analysis of how the imaginary plane works. I didn't forget. I just got really, really sad, and I didn't want to make that video. And yeah, um, I don't want to give y'all anything less than my best, and I wouldn't want to make a video where like I'm trying to force energy that I don't have. Like right now I'm tired, but like I have energy to give y'all. Like I have enough energy to give y'all to where I can still be entertaining and informational. I wouldn't want to be there like I mean if you take J and I mean I guess but I mean you could really move it. I'm not about that. I'm full force. When you got me, you got me. When you don't, you don't. It's either all in or all out. So I don't want to be one of the fake YouTubers like throwing on faces because there's some out. You know who I'm looking at. I don't even got to say the name. You know who I'm looking at. I'm looking at you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Share this video with that person. No, I'm kidding, but not really kidding because they could learn something. They could learn something. But anyway, so the transfer function S equals J omega. Um, so you really end up having H of J omega, um, and that equals geez, A times E to the J. I think this is phi. J phi of omega. That gets really confusing, and you have now A. Oh geez, man, like goodness. Oh geez, Rick. I don't know about this, Rick. It seems a little complicated there. But Morty, I got you, Morty. You see, all you gotta do, Morty, all you gotta do, take A. That is the magnitude, and it should be two actually. So magnitude represented by two absolute value lines, H of J omega, and that is equal to the magnitude of V2 over V1. Um, and then phi equals phi of omega. Um, and then this is the phase angle. Now I say all that to say there's an easier way to do this. There's a much easier way to do all this. Like you could do all this, and can you imagine like a 24th order filter writing out all this equation for all that stuff? Like that's not going to work. So the reason you get so let me explain something to y'all. The reason you have higher order filters is so you can decrease the spread of your band of like your cutoff frequency. So like if your cutoff frequency with the first order filter, so let me just draw a little representation. So first order filter might have like a little cutoff like this. So like right here is your cutoff, FC. But you see how like kind of wide that is? Well, maybe a second order filter might take that same cutoff frequency, but it cuts off a little steeper. And then you know that third order filter might have that same drop, but now it takes a little bit of a steeper drop. So you see, now you've optimized your by adding another order to your filter, you've now increased the steepness of your drop off, which could make your signal cleaner in the long run. If you really need something that clean, you might want to, boost up however many like how many orders you might have to the filter. Um, just double checking to make sure there's no questions in the chat. If you have any questions in the chat, let me know. I'm checking that kind of often, but to find the magnitude, um, to find magnitude, this might actually be important because I don't know if this will actually be on the test or not, but to find magnitude from the transfer function, so let me just go back over to it real quick. To find magnitude, you would just do 1 over the square root of 1 plus 2 pi f squared. That's how you find magnitude. That's magnitude of h of j omega. So hopefully that helps eventually, but let's get into um, some terms. So, oh, freak. So because engineers are super inconsistent with how they want to name stuff, we got like 7 or 8 different ways to name gain, which is fine until you have to remember all of them, and all of them mean the same thing, and they're not all the same letter. Don't you love engineering? Because I sure do. Anyway, um, gain, if you see it on a test, if you see gain on a test, gain can be represented by A, K, or G. Depends. It really does depend. Um, then you have a 0 for a filter. That's where the value of S, where the transfer function is 0. So where you have a pole, where the value of S, where transfer function, excuse me, is infinite. Easy way to remember this: if you have a zero on top, so if you have like a zero on top and then some junk garbage down here, it's zero. If you have some junk garbage on top and you divide by zero, it's infinity. So anytime that there's a zero on the bottom, it's infinity. Anytime there's a zero on the top, it's okay, cool. We're submitting a thing. Um, the poll where the value of the transfer function is infinite. I think my capstone team is like kind of giving me a pass to live stream this because this will help 75% of our team. You're welcome, guy. You're welcome, guys and dogs and homies and all that. Um, so low pass filters. One thing about low pass filters is they are all poles, where every time there's a zero, it's infinite. So low pass are all poles. Um, so that transfer function looks something like this. So h of s equals the gain of the low pass filter times the coefficient a, that's divided by s to the n. N is the order of the filter. Um, plus a to the n minus 1, s to the n minus 1, plus a bunch of stuff until you get to that order to the a of 1, s um, plus a 0. Um, a is a coefficient. There's a table for it. I'm not going to go through the table because no. There's also another stream I did where like I went through a table and like I solved a bunch of these, but you mm, so a is a coefficient, and that's given. For high frequencies, so let's see, high frequencies. Uh, h of s, the magnitude of h of s, because we already know what it is, approximately the gain of the low pass a0 over omega times the n value. Um, and then in decibels, that is a terrible looking B. In decibels, that's 20 log of low pass ILP A0 omega N. Um, so yeah, that's how you can solve for that one. Roll off. Oh, this might actually be a really important. Like this might actually be like one of those. Now, a lot of people showed up to my section, so I didn't get a lot of the freebie answers that some people would have gotten because like he sometimes works questions from the exam to give us practice. Um, First order roll off. minus 20 dB per minus 20 dB for per decade. Second order minus 40 dB per decade. Third order minus 60 dB per decade. Fourth order minus 80. You'll probably never guess what a fifth order is, but he doesn't have it written down, so I'm not going to guess. Um, but yeah, so that's the roll off frequency, um, the roll off. So a low pass Butterworth filter. So Butterworth filters, well, all low pass filters, since they're all pole filters, have no S at the top. So if you're ever looking at a filter, a quick like transfer function, and you're trying to figure out if it's a low pass or a high pass filter based off of the number, if you don't see an S at the top, because this is what the low pass Butterworth, you will see the gain divided by um, the square root of 1 plus f over fc. That is squared times n, and that's the order. So that's the h j omega magnitude. Um, for a higher order filter, ribs, ribs hurt. For higher order filters, you'll end up having h of s. Let me move over slightly. Of h s equals k. Remember how I said k was gain? I told you. I told you to come back. K is gain. Multiply that by the coefficient b, which is one for Butterworth filters, is always one. Hey, that's a way to remember. Butterworth b equals one because it starts with a b. First letter, it equals one. B equals one. That's probably a terrible way to remember it, but it'll help me out. Take the omega cutoff frequency, the omega cutoff squared. So like if this is a second order filter, um, you have s squared plus the coefficient omega c s plus b omega c squared. So this is a second order filter. Um, that's how you can tell what it is. K is the stage of K stage gain. Because at higher orders we split this up by you have to get like fifth and sixth order filters, you split it up by gain. So you split the gains and multiply them together. Um, A and B are normalized coefficients. There's a table for it. Um, for an geez. For an odd order filter, so like a fifth order filter, you have H of S um, equals K B omega C over S plus B omega C. So let's see. So let's say we want a fifth order. Let's say we want a fifth order. Fifth order Butterworth with a gain of 30. On a gain of 30 and a cutoff frequency of 50 hertz. Well, we're not being asked to necessarily solve these. If we are asked to solve them, you can solve them literally after you put all the equations in. But so easiest way to break this up is we need two four we need two second orders, one first order. We can put a gain of 10 at all of them. So a gain of 10 at all of these. So all three have a gain of 10, and that will give us our gain of 30. So then we could just write h of s for this one would be a 10 times 10 times 1 times 2 pi 50 over s squared plus the coefficient. I'm not looking this stuff up, by the way. I'm not looking at the fifth order one. I don't have time for that right now. But there's a table. I promise there's a table. You can find it. There's a table for it. Um, times 2 pi 50 s plus 2 pi 50 squared. That's stage one. Oops. Multiply that by again 10 times uh 2 pi 50 squared. I forgot this is also squared over squared plus a2. A2 is just like the second a coefficient because they're not always the same. Um, 2 pi 50 plus 2 pi 50 squared. And then we have our last stage one, uh, our first order, which would be just 10 times 2 pi 50. And the reason I'm not putting the b there is because the b is 1 for Butterworth filters. That's why I called it a Butterworth. And then just have s plus 2 pi 50. So this whole equation is your fifth order gain of 30, cutoff frequency of 50 hertz, Butterworth filter. All right. And then Chebyshev low pass all pole filter. Chebyshev also has a this is the last one I'm gonna do tonight because this is actually like kind of important. Not to skip the Chebyshev one. Um, I might hop on tomorrow or Saturday and do another like quick one, quick study session before I take the exam or something like that. But um, this one I feel is important enough to stick in at the end of this video as well. So Chebyshev transfer function is different. So the transfer function of a Chebyshev has an epsilon value, which is the constant for the ripple. So Chebyshev filter has a ripple in it because they're weird like that. Um, so the J omega constant the cheese the J omega, so H J omega equals the gain of the low pass over the square roots of 1 plus epsilon squared times the coefficient of the Chebyshev filter with omega over omega c. Remember, omega is 2 pi f. Epsilon epsilon is the constant for ripple, so ripple constant. Cn is Chebyshev polynomial. Um, so Cn of x equals cosine of n arc cosine x. If you want to find the ripple width, so ripple width, that is 1 minus 1 over 1 minus 1 over square root of 1 plus epsilon squared. Um, so he'll probably give you on the exam, he'll probably give you the ripple that he wants you to solve for. So in the example, he gave us 0.5 dB. So just to kind of make sure I know how to do it and to also show y'all how to do it, you do minus 20 log of 1 over square root of 1 plus epsilon squared. Um, to get it out of dB, you have to do uh, you have to raise it to the 10 power basically. Let me see what happens when I do this in the let me see what happens when I do this on the calculator. Because like I don't like it's very rare that you end up doing this, so I just want to sometimes just hear again. I might stream a game later if I do a study stream tomorrow or Saturday. Um, if I don't, it's because I'm taking the exam. But I have plans. I'll get you all your content. You know, don't worry. You're gonna get the content that y'all deserve. Um, but let me just do like 10 of log base 5. Ah, see, cool. Um, so if you do 10 to the you raise these both to the 10 power, so like 0.5 dB. So if I do 10 to the that equals 20 log 1 over square root of 1 plus epsilon squared. And that's also being raised to the 10. That's also being raised to the 10. So that gives me 3.162 equals 20. The log gets removed. 1 over square root of 1 plus epsilon squared. Then I can do divide by 20. Gives me 0.15. 15. 1 over square root of 1 plus epsilon squared. If I rearrange this equation to get this to where it's like square root of 1 plus epsilon squared equals 1 over 0.15. So if I do 1 over that, that gives me 6.324. Square both sides, so that gives me the 1 plus epsilon squared back equals 6.324. Nope, 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 nope. Let me not even do that. That gives me 40. 40, 40 minus 1. So 39 epsilon squared. Then square root, second answer. That gives me epsilon equals like 6.24. Then let's see what the actual answer was. Nope, that is not the answer. Let's see. Where did I go wrong? So 1,349, 1 over that. I know, I know. 349 squared, 1 plus that, 1 over that. No, no, no. Hold up. Square root of that, 1 divided by that. Then do log of that, multiply that by 20, or does it matter if I do times minus 20? Okay, okay, so if I go backwards, that gives me like 0.4999. If I go backwards, if I divide 0.5 dB, so if I divide that by 20 times -1, and then I do the inverse of a log. Okay, okay. I see where I made my mistake. I see where I made my mistake. My mistake came in. Um, my mistake came in here. Mistake came in here. I should have divided by 21st. So step one, divide by 20 or minus 20. Step two, after dividing by minus 20, raise to 10th power. Like do 10 to whatever is there. Step three, I think you divide by one, like one over that. Okay, yeah. So that's step three, you do 1 over answer. Next, you square it. So step four, square, square K. So then you square that. Step five, Um, Subtract one, then square root. So if I do this minus one, and that gives you the answer. So little bit convoluted. I don't like logarithms for this exact reason. Do I have any? Do I have any? I think you said DLC. Yeah, I think you. Yeah, I do have DLC for Injustice 2. Um, but bro, my brain is like shutting off. I'm like spacing so bad. Um, that's a Chevy Chev equations, and yeah, that's pretty much all I can really give y'all for now. Let me double check the next page of the notes because might have something else. Chevy Chevs, they do have, this is the last important thing. This is a very important thing that I should very much mention before I close out. Chevy Chevs do have a B, so Chevy has a B value. Chevy Chev has a B value. That's very important to note because that changes the transfer function. So like the transfer function for low pass is still the same. So Chevy Chev low pass. So I'll put like C low pass, CLP. Second order is K B omega squared, omega cutoff squared over S squared plus A omega C S plus B omega squared. First order is K B omega C over S plus B omega C. Um, you gotta pick your ripple width. Oh geez, I'm not showing it at all. You gotta pick your ripple width that you want because that matters. Um, but the ripple width um on the filter chart, like on the chart that gives you all the different coefficients for these filters, it'll tell you the different values for the different ripple widths that you might want. So if you want 1 dB or 2 dB or whatever, um, or 0.1 dB or whatever you would want, it tells you ahead of like it tells you what to make your numbers. And then to make higher order filters, so like cascading stages, H of S is H1 of S, oops, H1 of S multiplied by H2 of S, and so on and so forth. So like Hn of S. That's how you cascade filters. Dogs, I am, I am crazy tired right now. I've been staring at screens way too heckin' long. Um, it's been stuff, man. But I appreciate y'all sticking here with me through it all. Um, I hope if you're taking the 359 exam over the weekend that you do well. Um, I'll probably do another study stream for this class because I know it was a long spring break. And y'all may not remember everything as well as you hope so. But yeah, with that being said, uh, I'm gonna go ahead and get on out of here. So I want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video and the stream. If you liked it, strike that like button like a ninja really would. And I'll see all you guys next time. All right, y'all. Peace out. Have a good night. I am so tired. It's been a very long day. Uh, oh, hold up. Let me see. There's something in the chat. Oh, okay, cool. All good. All right. Yeah. Peace.